Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ina and I'm here today to talk about a different genus of orchids. I have already created another tutorials and videos about some types of orchids, but most of them are like big and huge and massive. So today I decided to talk a little bit about Tolumnias. So if you don't know, Tolumnias are miniature orchids. They used to be classified, put together with oncidians, because their flowers remember the dancing lady oncidian. They are very, very similar, but instead of being yellow and have I know that we have as well some oncidians that are purple and pink. These ones, they produce cluster of flowers with different colors, especially the hybrids, but they are not oncidians. So nowadays they're inside a different classification. When we talk about science, the botanists, they decide to classify it differently. And I think it makes sense because although the flowers are similar, I don't think the plants are very, very similar. Anyway, that's my opinion. I'm talking about using my point of view as a grower. So please bear in mind that I'm not a scientist or anything. I used to work with botany, but many, many years ago. So yeah, it's in the past. So what I have here today, that's just an example to show you how tiny they are. I have two Tolumnias. This one is a new one. I need to water it. I acquired it recently. It's still adapting to its new pot. I don't know if I have roots growing here. For any reason, it's not coming out, but should. This one is in a transparent pot. I have some roots inside the pot. I can see them there. I used to have this one here inside a tiny pot like this one a long, long time ago. So each outgrows it. Just to show you as an example, I have these two beauties here. I have another one potted in my shelving. I'm gonna place a picture for you to see. I have a miniature shelving because I find these pots so cute. So I really, really like them. They have leaves that remind me of a succulent type of plant, because they store water in their leaves. Their roots are very thin though. They look like maybe a hair or a little bit thicker than a hair, but they are very, very thin. And I think to balance it out, plants are very smart. So to balance it out, the leaves can store lots of water. But before I start talking about the roots and everything, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Tolumnias. So Tolumnias are miniature orchids. As I said before, they are from the Caribbean. I think that maybe that's one of the reasons that I love them, because I really connect with everything that comes from Central America and South America and all the region there. It's very close to where I'm from, so I think it makes sense for me. I don't know, it feels like home in a way. So they're from the Caribbean. I mean, the species. Usually they grow on the top of the tree branch, so they receive direct sunlight. So these are highlight plants, and they are also epiphytes, which means that they grow on tree trunks. You know, they need to be on branches, and they are tropical plants. Why am I telling you all that? Because that explains a lot about these plants and the care that they need. So as you know, they are miniature. So what we have in here, we have succulent leaves to store some water because their roots very, very thin. So although it's attached to trees and everything, or to the moss on the trees, but they are thin, so they can't store so many water. Their roots are really good for the plant, but they are not roots like so thick as, for example, Phalaenopsis roots. They are especially specialized in keeping and storing water. I think most of the water is stored in their leaves, so that's why they have like succulent leaves. That reminds me a lot of succulent plants. But they don't behave like a succulent, so don't treat them like a succulent. I think that's interesting. Another thing that it's good to know about these plants is that they love moisture. Doesn't mean that you need to have a humidifier or anything like that, but they love air as well. So when you decide to have one of these at home, which I super recommend, especially if you live in a flat like I do, if you don't have much space, because we have vandas, we have other orchids that are also beautiful, but they can be massive and huge. And when we are talking, even Phalaenopsis, sorry, I'm not getting to the point, but even Phalaenopsis, they can be so big and so large sometimes. And Tolumnias, usually, they are tinier compared to these plants. So I love them because of the size, how compact they are. But not only that, they have something that's really, really special. Their flowers. We have so many hybrids nowadays, and these hybrids, they produce like beautiful, colorful flowers. And some of them are even color-changing flowers, which means that they will bloom. For example, I used to have one that when the first flower opened, it was red, I think, and over time it became orange, like a strike orange. I will place some pictures on the screen. Unfortunately, I lost this one last year. But there are other Tolumnias that apparently when you have one bloom, the next one can come with a slightly different coloration or slightly different in the pattern in the flower, which is quite cool. I love when I don't know what to expect and then suddenly I have a surprise. I don't know if you're like that. So I think with Tolumnias, I get it a lot. And another thing that is very interesting about these plants specifically is that, like Phalaenopsis, they can branch out. So when you have a flower spike in a Tolumnia, don't cut the flower spike because it probably will branch out again for you. So you have more blooms from that flower spike. I don't have an example here. That's not the best moment to do this type of video because I don't have Tolumnias in bloom. I have to change their location. I don't believe I'm providing them with the right light. Last year, they were exposed to southern exposure. I live in the northern hemisphere, so southern exposure or Anyway, they bloom nicely. They are very easy to look after, I do think. The only thing is you need some highlight, some southern exposure if you live in another country or northern exposure if you live in a southern country. As I said before, they used to be exposed to direct sunlight in the Caribbean, so they need some highlight to produce their blooms. They are epiphyte, so they need an airy medium, but also they love humidity. So when they are approaching dryness, it's nice to give a good water to these plants. Although I don't have any Tolumnias in bloom at the moment, it's because if you have watched one of my videos that was about the orchids that were gifted to me from Poland, I got some Tolumnias. They were potted together, like in a community potting by my brother-in-law. They are in ceramics and in bark, and I think they're suffering. They are not looking really good, so I need to repot them immediately. So I decided to do this video as basically for us to chat a little bit and talk about these plants. Sorry about that I'm blabbing a lot, going back and forth. This Friday evening, after a long, very tiring week, I wasn't able to update my social media with my plants or any thoughts of that. Like being a mother, if your parents over there probably understand, and working full time, plus having the plant and doing other personal things, sometimes makes you feel really, really tired, which is normal. It's just what it is. But yeah, just for you to understand, if I'm like blabbing a lot and not making sense, probably that's the reason. So anyway, without further ado, let's do repot these Tolumnias. I'm going to tell you how I do it and where I'm going to intend to place these plants. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please hit the like button, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. If I should do more videos about different types of orchids, if you do more videos for beginners, which type of orchid would you like me to talk about, especially how to grow them inside a apartment, a flat, because that's where I live, so that's the conditions that I have. I would love to give you some advice, and you can give me some tips as well. I think exchanging knowledge and information is the best way for us to learn. So I'd love to hear from you. And let's start this repotting finally. The Tolumnias were inside this pot, and I had an only Tolumnia in here. I also discovered that I have a tiny cattleya inside the pot. Their roots was completely dried, and I think most of them are dead. So they are inside these two cups. Why I put them together? Because they were red together, you know, they were being watered together. So that's the only reason. And I do think some of them has mealybugs, so I probably have to treat it. But if that's not your case, if your plants were not potted together, don't share water. That's what I would advise you, because one of them may have a disease and can spread to the other ones. But in this case, they were together. So that's the only reason why I placed them here, because I need these roots to absorb water and to become more flexible. So I will check on them I will make sure to remove all the dead roots. I may spray something on these leaves. I think they have some mealybugs, but that's it. I'm sorry about the other video. It would be nice to show you my surprise when I noticed that there was something here. I noticed there was some sort of cattleya in here, so I remove it and I place it with moss, and I have a short about it. It's basically humidity high dome for it to recoup, but I didn't notice there was another one. So anyway, there were two. And also there are 3 Tolumnias. 2 of them look okay and 1 of them is not very well. So let's repot it. So what I'm gonna use apart from the plant, and then just tell which the Tolumnias are. I have here Tolumnia from Mocha Dot, Tolumnia Direct Rainbow Red, Corona, and Tolumnia Firm Orange Spread. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab my tools and I'm gonna come back. So I have here my pots. I have some black pots that I think they look nice because they are squared, but they have more space for the Tolumnia. But I have some tiny ones as well. I have here some moss. This New Zealand sphagnum moss. That's actually much better. I used to buy one here from the UK, but the quality's not the same, and the plants I noticed that were not growing so nicely, and from the moment I swapped their medium, they took off. I have some bark. The bark's not the best quality, and I have some slow release fertilizer. Let's start with the first one. I'm just grabbing of them. Okay. So I have this one here. Each has 2 fronds. It is really, really, really dehydrated. It's not happy. And I think it's my fault as well. But this one has a new growth coming here. I will dry it out. Look, there is a new growth. I don't know if it's possible to see, but there is a new growth here, which is quite nice. And there are many dried roots, dead roots. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's happening here. Let's see. It looks like a node growth that was here, like it was separated for something. So I'm gonna just check. There are so many dead roots here. I can see it already. And by the way, I'm not gonna spray hydrogen peroxide here because these plants were, before my brother-in-law potted them together, they were bare rooted. So he was scared that something could happen to them. So that's the reason why he potted them up. Yeah, he doesn't have any experience with orchids, by the way, if that's what you're wondering. No, he doesn't. There's something very weird here. So he decided to pot them because he was scared. It was nice. Come on, he brought nice plants to me, so I'm so grateful. Thank you, Guy. I think you don't watch these videos, but if for any reason you do watch, thank you very much. Know that you are appreciated. He also likes plants, so he was the one, I think, who got me into plants when the pandemic starts, before anyone else, before anything else. There was my connections and everything, but he was the one who starts swapping cuttings with me. We even we got so mad about it at some point. That's what I think the lockdown did to some people, to some extent. I think everybody had a moment being creative in, I don't know, deciding to create stuff. We decided to create concrete vase for some of our plants. So actually, we did bought cement. We bought the concrete, I don't know how it's called, but yeah, went to home base here in the UK. We bought everything. We mixed them up. We got some plastic pots to shape the concrete pots. Oh, I think I have one here. I'm going to show you. Part of the lockdown, I have one here. I still have one here. I don't think he has any anymore. I think he gave up on them, but I still have one. I'm going to show you. That's a handmade pot. 1 second. Let me just, I knew most of the roots would be dead. I'm not worried about that. Nothing that I can do here. They are super dry. So that's why I knew I had to repot this plant immediately. I found like a child now, but let me show you the concrete pot before I finish this Tolumnia. Don't know if I have any. I have one. I have another one. But yeah, that's a cacti. As you can see, this is a concrete pot that we made it I just sprayed it with some golden color sprayer afterwards. But yeah, that's a handmade pot from 2020. Probably laughing loads about these, but that's another one. That's another concrete pot, handmade concrete pot. It's pretty heavy. You can see it's very rustic as well. We didn't have the most amazing experience when we start doing it. So that was the first result. But I said, oh, it looks good with succulents and cacti. And also, my gosh, my string of pearls decided to grow so much. I didn't realize that until I grabbed that. Between dying and surviving, last year it was attacked by mealybugs. So I thought I would lose it, but I placed it in water and I repotted, and it's looking so nice now. So again, look, I have a string of pearls in my handmade concrete pot. I don't know if you can see it properly, so that's why I'm showing from. But anyway, nothing amazing to see. It's just a story to tell. From orchids to concrete vase, that's what we got in here. Anyway, I'll let this one be. Not many, but that's the result. The first one is here. I will sterilize that before I go to the next one. I don't want to give you this one at such a small pot, so what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna offer this black one. I have no idea how many. So it's saying here 7 by 7 by 8, probably centimeters. So I discovered that, haha, my battery died and I was filming and talking non-stop. Anyway, I managed to pot the first one. That's the one on the black pot. I used basically moss, and I only cover the top with bark. That's what I've done here.
It's not a little bit unstable.
Because it has no roots, almost no roots. So that's what's happened. I was basically blabbing about a lot of stuff. I won't do it again. I'm sorry. And I have here the second Tolumnia. This one is bushier. I can see that I have some old growths. It had a huge ball of roots that I have already removed. But I have some live roots on this one as well. It's not so stressed compared to the first one. So the root system is bigger, which makes me so happy. So yeah, so that's the second one. I basically do the same thing. I've already inspected the root system, and what I've done here, I basically use the old growth as a reference, and I start removing all the dried roots around the bowl until I came to the live roots. So these ones are the live roots. Hopefully you can see. This camera is not really good at focus because of the lens, but I don't have another lens at the moment. So anyway, but yeah, I hope you can see. Yeah, so I do have some green roots. It was in water, and that's something very, very nice here, is that I have a new root tip coming out, growing from here. So again, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna basically, I don't know if I should use this one, if I should go for a small one. I'm gonna go for a small one this time. I need to have a few. So, and when it grows more, I can basically just transfer to another pot. But yeah, I like these tiny pots because it saves up space. And I have nice pots, nice containers, decorative pots to place on top of it. So that's quite good. Doesn't matter that I have missed the other repotting. So basically, I fill it with sphagnum moss, like I'm doing it here. This sphagnum moss is dry. It is very loose. You can see it. And look, if I decided to press here, look the difference. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, it's not like that. It's very, very fluffy. So I'm not gonna suffocate their roots or anything like that. So that's the same thing that I've done with the other one. So loose moss. Oh gosh, placed too much moss. I forgot that I have roots in here. The other one literally had no roots whatsoever, so I didn't have to worry much. It's not the case of this one. So literally I spent probably 10 or 15 minutes talking to the camera, and the camera was off. The perks of the digital world. I'm joking. I mean, we're quite lucky in certain areas, not in all areas of the world, but yeah. So what I'm gonna do here now, I'm gonna place some slow release fertilizer. And then the last layer, Sorry, I went quiet for a moment. The last layer is with bark, just because I like it more. I'm gonna be honest. I think it looks good on the top. As I mentioned, I don't know. I recorded a video about one houseplant, and I was saying that I really like to have pebbles on top of my houseplants as well. I think they look really, really nice. That's just a preference. So we're almost there. I have here the tiny one. This one is the one that I'm most concerned about because it's very tiny, probably doesn't have much energy on its own. Apparently there is some live roots in here. What I'm gonna do is, I don't feel confident even like cutting any of these roots, honestly. I do the ones that I can see that are clearly dry, but I probably leave some of the dead ones here because I don't want to affect any live roots to give it this plant a better chance to survive. So that's the last Tolumnia. And then I have a sophronite there, or cattleya, or some sort of a small thing that I suspect. Anyway, it's like these ones. I have the tags, but I have no idea what is what here. Only if they bloom at some time in the future, maybe, if they decide to bloom. So I will be completely sure about their identities. But if this never happens, no, I mean, if they survive, they will bloom at some point. Providing the red light and everything, they will. I like these roots, not a lot. And again, it's not looking very nice. I have a new growth here, but it's pretty poorly. It basically has two growths. Yeah, it's pretty poorly. It is what it is, but it's not the most amazing orchid in the world. No. Something is wrong here. Yeah, I will do the same again. Just basically add moss here. One more. So guys, that's the last one. That's the one that I told you that's not a Tolumnia in any sense, any sort. I can see it has suitable, and it's pretty much, it's like, looks like a cattleya. So I have no idea what it is, if it's a miniature or it's a baby plant. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna basically cut all the dead roots. But this kind, I'm gonna place it here, and I'm gonna do like a dome to try to keep the humidity around, I think. Or I don't know yet. Let's see. Let's cut the root first. But to be honest, the roots of these cattleya, if it's a sophronite, I don't know, because it's much better than the Tolumnias. I'm quite surprised. I know that it has many growths. That's why I think it's a miniature. But let's get to this. If you are, I don't know, a beginner and you're probably asking how I know which root is alive or which root is dead, it's not exactly the color. It's just basically, I may have some repottings. I will link them down below. But when you touch the root, you can feel that it's very, very mushy and papery. And some of these roots are completely dry. So you can see there is no substance on it and become like very, very thin and brown. So I know that they are dead. But others, I know that they are very mushy. So these ones are the ones that I'm cutting. The ones that I can see that are firm and they have substance on it, I'm not cutting any of these. So basically we have something here as a surprise. I didn't expect to repot any cattleya today, but yeah, there we go. We have some cattleyas here. It's not only one plant, by the way. I have to be careful here. Don't know if they were one at some point, but they are not anymore. I don't even know if it's the same as the other one that I put in the dome, but I don't think so, because I haven't seen them together. So yeah, I think that's all for now. Something important here. I'm not going to talk much, but cattleyas have very sensitive roots, different from many other plants. So what I'm going to do, I may lose like part of these roots, which is normal for them, but they look nice. And I can see that I have new growth here. And also I have many root chips that are coming through, which is very nice. I think I'm going to pot it here as well because of the space. In this case, I'm gonna do the same thing because I'm really I think this is like some sort of sulfonites. If it is, they are cattleyas, but they are a little bit more sensitive, especially, I don't know, to moisture and stuff like that. I lost the only one that I had. No, actually, I lost two. I had a hybrid and I had another sulfonite, and I lost both of them. And even if it's a baby, it needs more attention. So I place it in moss as well with some bark, but more moss, just to let you know. It's a huge mess. I'm sorry, guys. So hi guys, I'm back. They are all potted. I found some cute pot for my Tolumnias. This one doesn't have a pot yet, but I will find something for it. But for now, yes, I have pot for all of them. I put this tag here just to illustrate what possibly can be, but I have no idea. And what I'm gonna do with these plants now, I give them some good watering, and I will place them in a bright spot, and I will have to babe these two a lot because they were rootless and everything. And I hopefully have some blooms soon. And when I have Tolumnia blooms, I will do an update. I will probably redo this video with more information and maybe more like a tutorial. Today was more like a chatting / reporting and some information about Tolumnias. But yes, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. Let me know your thoughts about Tolumnias in the comments down below. And subscribe to my channel, it helps me a lot. If you want to check my Instagram out as well, it's called One Orchid a Day. I do post lots of pictures about orchids in there as well. I will be so happy to have you there. That was all for today. I hope you have enjoyed this content, and see you next time. Bye bye.